Yeah, hello all. Welcome back. In the last two sessions, we understand some basics related to use effect. Maybe if you didn't practice, definitely you will be in a confusion. But in this session, we are going to learn use effect with some good example, real-time example, so that it's easy to understand. But please do practice last two sessions. Those are very, very important. If you have a confusion, no problem. I will take one more session to clarify your doubts. Okay, hopefully you guys are ready. Okay, Arun, are you ready?
Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah, fine. So I'm going to create a simple component. So and I want to clarify one thing. Suppose yesterday, if have done a practice, maybe you got a component will unmount and component it mounts two times. For now, just comment this strict mode. Okay, comment this strict mode in the index.js file so that it will work properly. Okay, why we are using strict mode and why we should comment for now, what is the advantage just putting a strict mode, I will explain things in the coming session because that is a really really beautiful concept. We need some time to understand that. So today we are going to focus on understanding use effect with one simple and practical example. So I'm just creating a component called um, timer. Okay, timer dot JSX. So let me create the component function timer and just return some JSX. I'm just putting different tag like time. So we need to display the exact time what is there in the clock. Export default the time. And let me add this into the add.js so that it will display both timer from timer. We are going to understand what is the need of cleanup function as well. That is very interesting and important thing. Simple. We have given a simple h1 tag. Here we need to display the time. For that, what I'm doing, I'm just taking the help of use state because I want to maintain that information in the state. So use state and here like time and set time, or we can say we can take date information and set date whatever it is. Okay, because once you know the date you can extract the time, right? It's easy. So in JavaScript, if you want to know the date or the time and everything, so we have a date prototype, right? Like constructor function is there. So just use that date so that it will initialize the date. So here, let me display that. So here it will be a date dot. I want to display the time string to time string so that it will display the time. If you display to date string, it will display the date. Okay. So if you want, I will add one more thing here. Date string. So here I'm just putting date. Otherwise, you can make it a component like date and time. That will be more meaningful. So if you see date, Thursday, May 25th, 2023, and the time like 8:50 and 45 seconds. Okay. Suppose if you want to make it a short date time because you don't need to display Indian Standard Time or something, maybe we have the method to local time string. Make it so that it will display only time. Local time means it will understand whether it is supporting Indian time zone or something based on your system settings. Okay, so I don't worry too much about that. So now it is 8:50:45. Okay. So even if you watch this after 1 hour also, it will display only 8:50 and 45. But after 1 hour, the time will be 9:50, right? So after 1 hour, because this is the this is hours and minutes, and this 45 is the seconds, right? So how to, because if you open anything, like even if you see the your computer the time, so definitely it will change after every second, right? Okay, we should change the, we should get the latest time after each and every second, or at least 10 seconds, whatever it is. So how to implement that? How to implement that? One thing, if you just put a button, okay, and if you click on that button and take the latest date and time and update the set state, it will work. But that is because how many times you will click the button, right? Understood? Suppose, I hope you guys understood what I'm saying. So get latest time, suppose. Okay, I'm just putting one click, uh, handle and then time, whatever it is, handle time. I'm just adding constant time. It's just a handler. So what you need to do, you should you should take the new date and update it. That's it. What will happen now? Observe carefully. Observe carefully. Suppose I'm just refreshing so that it will take the latest time. And suppose whenever you want the latest time, just click on that. Get latest time. Get latest time. Get latest time. It will work. It will work. But it's not a, it's a bad idea, right? Because if you ask user to get the latest time, definitely they don't like our application, right? It should change. This time should change automatically every after 1 second, or at least 10 seconds, whatever it is, so that it will make sense. So how to implement that? How to implement that? Can anyone give any suggestion? Like Varun, do you know how to implement that before watching
By
this
use
video?
effect.
Tell me, Varun.
By use effect
Use effect. Okay.
or set timer.
Yeah. What
I
do you need to do?
mean JavaScript set timer.
Yeah. Set timeout or set interval?
Set timer.
What is the difference between set timeout and set interval?
Set interval. It will remove. It will update the every interval on every interval.
Hmm. Right? Set interval will execute that callback function every after that interval, right?
Interval yes.
Now here we need set timeout means it will execute only one time, right?
One time.
But we need to change the time every after 1 second, right? Or 10 seconds.
So we need to give seconds, milliseconds.
Yeah. For that, whether we need to go with a set timeout or interval.
I think set interval.
Why set interval?
As you told, it will change for every interval, right?
Yeah, because set interval that execute callback function every after that time limit, right? So that, yes, we need to implement. But here, where to add that set interval? So we can add set interval and we can put a callback function. But what is the best place? Okay, normally there are three places where we can just write the logic. One thing, okay, from this place to this place, the component, whenever you are going to render anything, before that if you want to do any calculations you can do it. Another one is you can just put some logic inside the handler, but this handler will execute that logic only whenever you click on a button. Okay, but suppose if you have a date and if you want to convert it to a date string or a local time string, okay, you can do that here. So that, if you see, I'm just putting suppose constant time equal to, so what you can do, suppose before rendering it to in the component, suppose if you want to do any calculations, yes, you can use this place, and you can, instead of just putting here, right? But if you want to put the set the timers where we need to use now use effect, because I will tell you what is the reason why we need to use effect. First, let's go and take help of use effect. Let me use effect, because use effect will execute. Suppose if you remove the dependency array, it will execute after each and every render, right? That's the advantage. And if you put inside the use effect, we can clean up those things. Okay, why we need to do clean up on all those things, we can learn now. So first of all, let's finish the timer. So what I'm doing here, set interval. Okay, set interval. Okay, what we need to do, we need to pass the that function. And so I'm just giving 1000 milliseconds. Okay, 1000 milliseconds means 1000 milliseconds means how many seconds, Varun?
1 second.
1 second. Okay, then good. Sometimes I have confusion with this. Fine. What we need to do for each and every 1000 milliseconds? If you call the set state, right?
Six,
And if you give a new date, what will happen? Does it make sense?
yeah.
Because whenever the component has rendered first time and you are setting the interval so that it will execute the set state after every second, right? If you already learn what is set interval, how set interval work, and how set timer will work, definitely you can understand easily. Otherwise, just please go back and just do practice what is set interval and what is set timer. So here and now, tell me, Varun, whether we need to put a dependency array here or not.
No, Raghu.
Why?
Because if we put then it will only render one time only.
If you put a dependency array, empty dependency array,
Empty dependency array.
yeah, it will execute this. It will initiate that set interval only one time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that is enough, or
No,
we
that
need.
is not enough, right? We need to update every second, right?
Yeah, that's already we have done, right? What set interval do? Just I will tell you one more. Just recollect what we have learned. Call stack, web API. Tell me what are other things? Event loop,
Microtask. Yeah, event
task
loop.
queue, and microtask. So whenever you put a timer, if it is interval, what will happen, Varun?
It will handle that function to the web API as a timer,
Mhm.
and it will after the timer completes, it will push. I mean queue.
Because for every 1000 milliseconds, it will send that callback function, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what it will say? Please execute. Just change the timer. Change the update the new time. Give the new time. Give the new time. Right?
Yes.
Understood?
Hmm.
It is an interval because it is happening, right? We don't need to read into the component, right?
Yeah.
Got it? Suppose if you put a set interval, this set interval is handling. Uh, it is going to execute. JavaScript engine is going to execute this one every after 1000 milliseconds. So that why we need to set the timer every time you render one more time, right? That's not a bad thing. So that's a bad thing, because whenever if you execute this use effect two times, what will happen, Varun? It will create another interval, right? It will initiate other one.
Yes.
So let's see, because I have put given a empty dependency array. What is happening? Every 1000 milliseconds, this browser is executing that callback function, right? This browser is executing callback function. And Java, like React, okay, once, okay, here I will tell you one minute. by putting in. This is very important to understand the cleanup function. So observe carefully. This is the web page, and here first time whenever we add our component here, okay, we tell is we are just initiating use effect, right? We are just initiating the use effect. In that use effect, we just added set interval. So whenever the component has mounted first time, because we have given an empty dependency array so that it will execute only one time, set interval one time. And this set interval will execute that callback function every after 1000 milliseconds. One, two, three. So whenever the set interval is doing that job, observe carefully what is happening. It is calling the set state. Okay, whenever you call the set state, what will happen, Varun? Whenever you call the
Set
set
date,
state,
right? It will update a new data.
and then whether it will render or not,
It will update new data and it will re-render. Yeah.
because we are calling the set state for each and every 1000 milliseconds. Okay, whatever the thumb rule, whenever you are calling the set state, what will happen? It will re-render the component. Okay, but here we have a empty dependency array. That's why it is executing only one time. So I will put a console.log here. Observe carefully. Console.log component. So don't worry if you have any confusion. I will give a clarity. Don't worry. So just remove registration also. Why did throwing some error? So component did mount. So if you see, because the set state happening every after 1000 milliseconds, but it is not executing component did mount, right? It is not executing use effect, because if you give a empty dependency array, it will execute this use effect, what is there inside this use effect, only one time whenever this timer component has mounted into the web page for the first time. Got it, Varun? Now we are able to implement the timer. Got it or not?
Yeah, got it, Raghu.
Now tell me, suppose yesterday we have implemented the toggler, right? Just recollect what we have done yesterday. Here I just put a button like toggler. So if I click on the toggler, we are mounting the component, right? We are mounting the counter. Right now we can do the same thing. Okay? Suppose, just imagine, when you click on the toggler, we are adding this timer. When you click on that button one more time, I'm going to remove this term. And whenever you click on it, again place it. What will happen? What we are doing, Varun? Mounting and unmounting, right?
Yes.
Mounting and unmounting. So what we understand yesterday. So whenever you do unmounting, if you want to execute anything, you can add in a component will unmount, right? Return. Okay, you can execute it. But why we need to write something here? Why we need this okay, cleanup function? Okay, why means, just understand carefully. This is very, very important. Varun, just try to answer. Okay, suppose first time I have placed the timer. Okay, this is, just imagine this is the timer. Okay, by clicking on the toggle or something, I just removed this timer from the original DOM. Okay, I just removed it. I don't want that timer anymore. Okay. Now tell me, observe carefully. This is very, very important point. This is the call stack. This is the web API, right? And this is event loop, and this is the callback queue. So whenever you have mounted the component here, just observe, whenever you mounted the component, in the first time when it is completed the mounting, we are setting the timer. That here we have a timer. We have a timer. What is the job of this timer? It will push that callback function every after 1000 milliseconds, right? Now tell me, my question is, okay, fine, it is working properly. So whenever you are just watching the screen, absolutely it's working perfectly and beautifully. But whenever, suppose if I unmount this component, okay, whenever I unmount this component from the DOM tree, just tell me whether it is going to remove this set interval from the web API or not. Want to understand my question or not?
Yeah, understood, Raghupasan.
Yeah, even I will explain in Telugu. Okay, so for better understanding. Okay, మనం ఒక కాంపోనెంట్ ఉంది అనుకోండి, ఇప్పుడు టైమర్ అనే కాంపోనెంట్ ఉంది. ఇది వెబ్ పేజ్, ఇది వెబ్ పేజ్. సో ప్రస్తుతానికి టైమర్ అనే కాంపోనెంట్ ఉంది. సో నేను పైన ఒక టాగ్లర్ పెట్టాను అనుకుందాం, టాగ్లర్ బటన్. సో ఈ టాగుల్ మీద క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు, బటన్ మీద క్లిక్ చేసినప్పుడు నేను ఆ కాంపోనెంట్ ని యాడ్ చేయాలి. మళ్ళీ ఇంకొకసారి క్లిక్ చేస్తే ఈ కాంపోనెంట్ ని డిలీట్ చేయాలి. అది మనం ఎస్టర్డే వి అండర్స్టాండ్ ఎస్టర్డే. ఓకే, సపోజ్ ఇఫ్ ఐ వెనెవర్ ఐ మౌంటెడ్ ద కాంపోనెంట్, ఓకే, మనం ఎప్పుడైతే కాంపోనెంట్ మౌంట్ చేసామో అది సెట్ ఇంటర్వెల్ ని అటాచ్ చేసింది, ఒక టైమర్ అటాచ్ చేసింది. దాని జాబ్ ఏంటి? ఎవ్రీ 1000 milliseconds కి ఒక కాల్ బ్యాక్ ఫంక్షన్, దట్ కాల్ బ్యాక్ ఫంక్షన్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయడం అనేది దాని రెస్పాన్సిబిలిటీ. సో బట్ ఇక్కడ నువ్వేం చేస్తావు, ఒక 2 minutes తర్వాత, అండ్ ఇఫ్ క్లిక్ ఆన్ దట్ బటన్ like toggle to unmount this component. I just unmounted this component from the DOM. Web page still is there. Okay, toggle button is there. Even you can replace with other component. That's still web. You didn't close the browser. You didn't close your application. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు మన కాంపోనెంట్ ని రిమూవ్ చేసాం కదా, ఆ కాంపోనెంట్ లో యూజ్ ఎఫెక్ట్ లో సెట్ చేసిన ఈ టైమర్, ఈ కాంపోనెంట్ ని మనం రిమూవ్ చేయగానే ఈ బ్రౌజర్ లో డిలీట్ అవుతుందా అవదా? దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ మై క్వశ్చన్. Okay. Varun, now tell me who are watching this video. This is very important. I'm saying why we need a cleanup function. Okay, definitely in interviews, everyone will ask the question. Okay, how it will work, that is different. Why we need cleanup function, that is very important. So now tell me, Varun, whether it is going to remove the timer automatically whenever we do unmount, or it will be still there in the browser.
When we do unmounting, I think it will remove timer again, I guess.
But the actual thing is, it is not going to remove, because this is not under control of React, right? This is there in a web API. It is there in the browser, right?
Yeah.
Set interval. Okay, from where you will get the set interval? Just tell me whether this set interval is a method of a React or it's a JavaScript window object.
JavaScript maybe.
Yeah, it is coming from browser window
Browser.
object, browser
Yes.
object model, right?
Yes.
Right. So that is not under control of React. Under control of React. So we have a set timer. So even though if you remove that component from the DOM, still this timer is just pushing things in the callback queue, and event loop is still putting there. Okay, but whether we don't know whether it is working or not, whether it's throwing error, doesn't matter. But this set interval is doing the job. You should say that, right? You should say that, okay, come back. Okay, I'm just going outside. Please come back. Okay, normally you can take any real time example, right? Okay, but right now I'm not going to enter into that. Hopefully you guys understand, right? Fundamentals, right? Whenever we remove that component, we should, that is our responsibility to remove these timers which we attached in the web API. We should remove these timers which we have attached into the browser. That is our responsibility. That is a developer responsibility. That is the responsibility of a developer who using this use effect who has written this set interval. Okay. Now tell me, Varun, how to remove the timer from the web API?
by passing return function.
Okay, but you need a reference, right? Suppose if I put
Clear
10 set
interval.
intervals, on which basis you will remove the timer?
I mean, clear interval we use.
Okay, in clear interval, what we need? Okay, I'm just writing return. Now tell me, we need to clear, right? Okay, clear interval. What we need to pass to the clear interval?
Date, set date.
ID, right?
Sorry, Raghu.
ID, right? Timer ID.
Yeah, timer ID. Okay.
Okay, whenever you set the timer, what will happen? It will return one timer ID, right? Do you remember?
Yes, yes.
Okay, if you just attach two timers, it will give a different IDs. So whatever the timer ID is there, you need to pass the timer ID. Okay, now what will happen? Whenever you mount the component first time, it will set the timer in the web API. Okay, web API. Okay, it will work properly. It will help you to check your time without need of clicking a button. Okay, I'm just removing that button now because we don't need, right? We don't need this button. Okay, we don't need this button. Just doing, make it simple and perfect. Okay, it will work properly. But whenever you remove this component from the memory or in the original DOM, that is our responsibility to clean up the timers, right, in the web API. So that we should use the cleanup function. So if you want to understand clearly, let's add this timer under the toggle, right? We have a toggler, right? So previously we are just putting the counter, right? Let's input, what is that? Timer from timer. Just place it, the timer. I'm just removing that. So we got okay, if you have done a practice the yesterday's session, you will understand what I am talking now. So in app.js, what we can do instead of timer, I'm just putting input toggler. Just place the toggler. So just refresh. Okay, we got the toggle, right? So if I click on that, unmount happen. So whenever you remove your component from the original DOM, before that we should clean up the thing, clean up our timer, clean up the timer. So that is happening. So now hopefully you will understand the importance of the cleanup function. So here I'm just putting console.log. So I am removing timer in web API because we are unmounting, right? So here what I'm doing, the component did mount, I am setting the timer. So observe carefully, the refresh, inspect element, go to the console. So I'm setting the timer because whenever you just refresh the component, that means it is mounted first time. So that I'm setting the timer. And once you set the timer, okay, it is working properly. Even if you just sit idle for 10 minutes, this it is going to refresh that because the interval is working. The web API just pushing that callback function into the calls, like the task queue, and even loop is just pushing that callback function into the call stack so that it is working properly. And we are using a set state so that component is going to re-render. It is happening re-rendering also, but we have given a empty dependency area. That's why it is not executing this one. We should not execute because For each and every render, we don't need to create a set interval one more time, because once you set the interval, that's fine. The interval will work properly. It will execute. It will give a callback function every after 1000 milliseconds. Now, if you see, whenever I do toggle, what will happen? It is going to remove this component from the original DOM, right? It is going to remove this component from the original DOM. At the time, you will see the cleanup function. So if you see, got it? I'm removing the timer in a web API. Again, if I click on that, again, if you want that component, once the component is there, again it is setting the component. Again, it is setting the interval so that it is executing. Yeah, understood, Varun, or not?
Yeah, understood, Raghu.
This is the importance of, because why we need to put timers in the use effect means, because after, because once component is loaded in the virtual DOM properly, then only we need to set the timers for that. Okay, and of course there is a another specific reason is there. I will explain, because in a use effect, suppose if you want to set the timers, just use a use effect. If you want to get send any API calls, because if you want to get any information from external servers or external system ecosystem. Okay, and another one is there. Suppose there are situations like in a large scale applications, they will do analytics. Suppose once the component is loaded properly, they will store some information. Okay, component has loaded properly. User click on this button. User just purchase the product. He just added item to the cart. Okay, everything they will log those details for analytics. So even for analytics, okay, suppose if you want to log some information once the component is mounted, at the time you can just send some log details to some other services. So this is the importance of. So why we need cleanup function? Why we need a cleanup function? Understood? This is the one great example. In interviews also they will, because if you explain this, definitely they will be happy. Because this is a genuine reason. Because if you put any set interval inside the use effect, okay, whenever the component is mounted, even if you unmount, okay, if you don't put this cleanup function, if you don't do clear interval, it will be there in the browser unless until if you close the application. So because if you open the application here, and if you didn't clean up, and if you just went through all the pages and you have done the shopping and everything, so if you take 10 minutes or 20 minutes, so in the background that timer is going to send that callback functions every after 1000 milliseconds. So that is really really bad. It will kill the performance of the application. It will kill the application performance. That's why we need a cleanup function. Okay, right now the time is 9:20. I have another meeting, so that I'm going to stop the session. I hope I've covered whatever I want to explain today. But understood or not?
Understood, Raghu.
Yeah, please do practice and three sessions: first session, second session, and today's session about use effect. So now you will get the clarity why we are using cleanup function. That's all for today, and see you again tomorrow with another example. Okay, tomorrow also I will come up with another example for use effect, real time example, so that you will understand use effect clearly, so that we can jump into the another topic maybe on Monday. Thank you, and see you again on tomorrow. Bye bye.